Welcome back to Deco Diva, your ultimate destination for home decor inspiration. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a comment below to tell us what you think about today's vintage-inspired tablescape idea. Today, we are diving into the world of vintage charm, showcasing how to create a timeless tablescape that can be styled for any occasion. Whether you're hosting a dinner party, celebrating a holiday, or simply gathering with loved ones, this video will inspire you to add a touch of nostalgia and elegance to your table. Vintage style has an undeniable warmth, combining the elegance of the past with the comfort of the present. When you use vintage elements in your table setting, you're not only creating an aesthetic, but you're also telling a story. From antique china to delicate lace tablecloths, every piece has a history and adds layers of charm to the scene. In today's video, we'll explore key elements that will help you build a vintage tablescape that is both functional and beautiful. Before we dive in, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got so many more creative ideas coming your way to help you elevate your home decor game. Now, let's explore how you can infuse your dining space with vintage charm that works for any occasion. The foundation of any successful tablescape starts with the right color palette. Vintage charm is often defined by soft, muted tones like pastels, creams, dusty roses, and sage greens, along with subtle pops of deeper shades such as navy or burgundy. These colors are not only soothing but also evoke a sense of nostalgia. Think of how a well-worn, vintage tablecloth or dish set may look over time, faded but timeless. When choosing your color palette, consider the season or event you're celebrating. For instance, springtime might call for soft pinks and whites, while fall could be ideal for deeper oranges, browns, and forest greens. You can always personalize the color scheme to suit your aesthetic or the vibe you wish to create. If you're unsure where to start, look for inspiration in vintage textiles, such as florals, damasks, or gingham, as they often feature the perfect color combinations. One key tip is to balance neutrals with accent colors. The vintage look thrives on simplicity, so avoid overwhelming the table with too many bold tones. Instead, allow for a few elements like plates or napkins to pop, while letting other pieces like glassware or silverware fade into the background, creating a harmonious and inviting space. One of the easiest ways to achieve a vintage look is by using antique or vintage-inspired tableware. You don't need to spend a fortune on rare pieces. Many beautiful, second-hand options can be found at thrift stores or online marketplaces. Look for delicate china with floral patterns, gold or silver-rimmed edges, or even mismatched plates for a more eclectic feel. Consider mixing and matching different patterns, but be sure to keep the scale and overall aesthetic in mind. For example, small floral dishes can be paired with solid-colored chargers or placemats to avoid visual clutter. Vintage china often carries with it a sense of romance and history, giving your tablescape a unique and personal touch. Don't forget about the smaller items such as vintage glassware and cutlery. Crystal goblets, mismatched drinking glasses, or tarnished silverware can add a lot of character to your table. The key is to find pieces that complement each other without being too matchy-matchy. Lace and linen are quintessential elements of vintage decor, adding softness and texture to your tablescape. A lace tablecloth or placemats can instantly evoke a sense of timeless elegance. Pair it with a simple linen runner or cloth napkins for a beautifully layered look. Linen, in particular, adds a rustic and authentic vintage touch. Opt for natural linen colors like beige, ivory, or soft gray, or go for a delicate embroidered design. The texture of linen brings a sense of casual sophistication, perfect for creating a vintage-inspired, yet laid-back atmosphere. Lace accents can also be incorporated through smaller pieces like doilies or lace napkin rings, which add intricate detail to your setting. Just be careful not to overdo it. The goal is to evoke vintage charm, not overwhelm your guests with too much lace. Fresh flowers are a beautiful and timeless way to bring life to any table setting. When it comes to vintage-inspired arrangements, think about flowers that have a classic or old-world feel. Roses, peonies, lavender, and daisies are all great choices for a vintage tablescape. Choose flowers in soft colors that complement your chosen palette, and arrange them in antique vases or simple mason jars for that rustic charm. You don't need to go overboard. Sometimes, a single statement bouquet can make all the difference in bringing the vintage aesthetic to life. A great tip for fresh flowers is to change up the arrangement seasonally, which adds a fresh layer of charm to your tablescape throughout the year. You can also add a few sprigs of greenery or herbs like rosemary or thyme for a fragrant touch. Candles are a must-have in any vintage-inspired tablescape, as they add warmth and a soft, romantic glow to the setting. Look for vintage-inspired candle holders, such as ornate brass candelabras, crystal candlesticks, or even rustic lanterns. Choose candles in ivory, soft pink, or warm gold to complement your color scheme. When arranging candles on your table, consider varying the height of the candle holders to create visual interest. Tall tapers in vintage holders paired with short tea lights in dainty holders can help create a balanced and inviting atmosphere. Don't forget about the ambience. Soft candlelight not only sets a vintage mood, but it also encourages conversation and adds a touch of intimacy to any gathering. As the candles flicker, they can bring out the beauty of your vintage tableware and floral arrangements. A well-thought-out centerpiece can be the focal point of your vintage tablescape. Whether it's an antique vase full of flowers or a vintage cake stand with delicate pastries, the centerpiece should align with the overall style of your table. One great idea is to use vintage books or old photo albums as part of your centerpiece. Stack them high and add a few small decorative elements like a vintage clock, a candle holder, or a small plant. This can create an instant nostalgic vibe and help bring the whole setting together. Your centerpiece doesn't have to be grand, but it should feel cohesive with your table's overall theme. Keep it low and unobtrusive if you want to encourage easy conversation around the table. Now it's time to set your table. The way you arrange your place settings can greatly influence the overall vintage feel. Start with a vintage-inspired charger or placemat, followed by your dinner plate, salad plate, and flatware. Vintage tablescapes often embrace a more formal place setting, but don't feel pressured to follow rigid rules. If you prefer a more relaxed approach, consider informal settings with mismatched plates or flatware. However, ensure that everything is placed neatly and intentionally for a polished look. Make sure your glasses and cutlery are positioned according to the occasion. Water glasses can go above the knife, and wine glasses can be placed next to the water glass. This adds to the vintage charm while keeping things functional for your guests. Napkins are another simple, yet effective, way to incorporate vintage charm into your tablescape. Choose cloth napkins made from linen, cotton, or even vintage handkerchiefs. You can fold them into elegant shapes, or simply roll them and tie them with a piece of twine or a vintage napkin ring. Consider adding a personal touch to the napkins by monogramming them or adding lace trimmings. Vintage napkin rings, such as silver or brass, can be found at flea markets or antique stores and are a great way to elevate your napkin presentation. To create a cohesive look, make sure the napkins match your color palette. Soft pastels, classic whites, or muted florals work beautifully for vintage-inspired tablescapes. Incorporating personal items into your tablescape adds a unique and meaningful touch to your gathering. Vintage family heirlooms, such as an old silver tray or a vintage set of glassware passed down through generations, can add both sentimental and aesthetic value. Consider adding small place cards or handwritten notes to your guests. These can be done in a vintage-style font or on aged paper to create a sense of timelessness. Personal touches like these can make your gathering feel even more special and intimate. A personal vintage item could even be something as simple as a cherished photo framed on the table, or perhaps an old family recipe card tucked into a napkin. The key is to blend sentimentality with style. Vintage trays are wonderful for adding both function and charm to your tablescape. Whether it's an old silver tray, a wooden tea tray, or a lacquered tray, they can serve as both decorative and functional elements. Use them to hold condiments, small dishes, or even candles. The beauty of vintage trays is that they can add an extra layer of texture and dimension to your table setting. Try stacking a few trays to create different heights and visual interest. A vintage tray can also serve as a platform for your centerpiece or a base for your dessert selection. Choose trays with ornate detailing or worn finishes to add a little extra vintage flair. The patina that develops over time only adds to the charm of the piece. Antique glassware, from crystal goblets to delicate wine glasses, can elevate your vintage tablescape instantly. Whether your collection is full of cut glass, colorful vintage glassware, or simple etched pieces, they add a sense of elegance and history to the table. Consider using a mix of different glass types, such as matching crystal wine glasses and unique pattern tumblers. The key is to keep the glassware visually interesting without overwhelming the rest of your setting. You can also incorporate vintage glass jars for serving drinks or use them as part of the decor. Their timeless beauty will certainly impress your guests. Incorporating seasonal elements can help make your vintage tablescape feel more current while still maintaining that timeless charm. For a fall tablescape, use small pumpkins or acorns, while in the spring, you might want to incorporate delicate bird nests or seasonal fruits like pears. For holidays, consider adding festive touches like vintage ornaments, antique candlesticks, or even seasonal napkins. Seasonal vintage items can help keep your tablescape feeling fresh and aligned with the current time of year. The beauty of using vintage decor is that these items have an enduring appeal. The same vintage pieces can be used year-round, with just a few tweaks to reflect the changing seasons. And there you have it. Creating a timeless vintage tablescape is all about mixing the old with the new to evoke feelings of nostalgia and elegance. I hope you enjoyed this journey through vintage charm, and that you're inspired to create your own tablescape for any occasion. If you loved this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and, of course, subscribe for more home decor inspiration. Remember, home decor is all about personal expression, so feel free to play around with these elements to make the tablescape truly yours. Vintage decor is versatile and can work for any season or special event, so get creative and have fun. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video where we'll be diving into more decor inspiration to make your home a haven of beauty. Take care, and happy decorating!